Welcome back to the Sounds of Stadia Podcast, your weekly show where we round up all of the Stadia and gaming news for your listening and viewing pleasure right here on youtube.com/Helix Cloud Games. Don't forget, if you haven't done so already, do click like on the video, subscribe to the channel and hit that bell so you're kept in the loop with all of the amazing content we bring you here at Helix Cloud Games, just like our first looks, live streams, and many, many more things. But I'm joined this week, of course, Chris, your host, by the man of many pixels, Mr. Ritchie.
So some of you might have noticed something that happened on Thursday last week, and that SideQuest went live because Chris assumed I forgot to post it, but because we put our stream on the Wednesday night instead of Thursday night, he pushed it live on the Thursday. So he got a whole day earlier, thanks to Chris.
See, you're making it a whole thing. When I say introduce you, I just want you to say hello, not throw me under the bus with our other shows. Yes, I got my days mixed up, folks. It was in fact a Friday, not a Thursday, or it was a Thursday instead of a Friday. Time's weird. I've been off. I've been sleeping in far too much.
It confused me because I woke up to a notification saying SideQuest like, is it Friday? Have I just completely messed up my days in my head?
Yeah, no, it was me who in fact messed up my days in my head. But you know what? We're back on track. Everything's normal. This show has gone up. This show has never went up incorrectly, so yeah. Let's hope that continues. For 127 episodes, everybody, of your weekly Stadia show. That's what we're here for, breaking down all of the Stadia and gaming news. But before we do all that, a bit of a serious news topic we want to touch on, of course, before we get into all the fun and games and stuff. Crazy shit going on in the world right now. Of course, our hearts go out to everyone in Ukraine who's currently in the middle of an invasion, it would appear, from some arsehole dictator in Russia. Shout out to all the people over there. Hope you are all able to find comfort, safety, everything with your friends and families and loved ones. We can't really do much as just two people in the UK, Richie, but we've already said, you, me and Tom had a discussion this week and said that all of our proceeds from our memberships this month we're going to donate to the Ukrainian Red Cross. I think it's the least we can do. If you want to support them, we'll put the link in the description for the Red Cross, or any charity basically. It's a shitty thing that's happening. Didn't think we'd ever see it in our lifetime. Invasion, other sovereign nations being invaded with absolutely no justified reasons. So unfortunate, but we wanted to address it, get out of the way, and show you support. I'm sure some of you, probably viewers and listeners, have family, friends, loved ones out there as well, or close relations. Felt a bit weird for me the other day. We won't go too much in. We won't spend long because I'm sure you probably had enough with your family. But I got the benefit of going to Kiev a few years ago. I went for a football game. Spent a weekend there. It's a beautiful country, beautiful city, and I very much doubt anyone's probably going to go back anytime soon due to everything unraveling. So it's a big shame. It's a big shame. I don't know how I feel about it. It's made me feel really weird and just kind of like anxious, but obviously it's not going to directly impact me. But reading the news and getting bulletins every day, it's kind of like the COVID stuff where it's just you're hammered with so much bad stories and such, and sad stories.
That's it. I've been doing lots of reading and stuff over the last week, and it's like I'm worried about how this could escalate.
Yeah, I think that's where my biggest piece of anxiety comes from. Yeah, out of it all. But I usually try and keep it on the up and up. But when you're seeing that happen, somewhere you've been as well.
There's no positive take to this.
Yeah. Anyway, we won't digress into it. It's a really shit thing happening from one arsehole who's just power mad, egotistical. So if you need a way to remember whose fault it is, just think of a tin of poo. That's how I do it. That's all you need to do, Richie. But let's pivot back away. Links in the description, like I said. Let's get back to some gaming and Stadia-related news, because we do have one hell of a show lined up for you this week. We're going to be breaking down all of your March Pro games. We're on the cusp of March. Actually, tomorrow, at the time the show goes live, they're free to claim as of tomorrow with your monthly subscription. We have a Stadia Developer Summit. Richie, we actually have people who work at Stadia talking, probably on a virtual stage of some kind, probably from their homes in the bedrooms and stuff, actively talking about the network, the technology, the future, I guess, in some capacity, which we've not had for over a year. We've been starved.
I mean, we should mention this isn't a Stadia event. This is a Google Wild Developer Summit.
Mm-hmm.
But Google for Games Developer Summit is the keynote.
Yeah.
For the Developer Summit, and we know Stadia is involved in that.
Yes, and we did get some stuff last year's summit regarding to the future pipeline and how they've been working with devs. And again, you and me both suspect something is in line for GDC.
I'm not convinced with GDC now since this news dropped.
Okay.
This could be what they were building to rather than GDC,
Okay.
but
Maybe. We'll see. They're both so closely. I think they're like a week and a half apart, so we will see. We'll see. We'll get into that, of course, in the news. We've got all the Ubisoft updates. There's a couple of roadmaps came out for content, price cuts on content that's not even out yet, so pre-order discounts, and a bunch more things. Games that have been rated for Stadia, games that have been announced that we think may come, and we may have found a little scoop of a video game relating to the Dev Summit that actually might be coming to the platform this year. So we'll break into that. We'll get into all of it. But before we do, Richie, this week, tell myself and our lovely audience what you've been playing. What you've been getting up to in your life of the games.
I've been playing Horizon Zero Dawn. Not Zero Dawn, Forbidden West.
Oh, you did it. It got you. I've said it like 80 times when talking about it. Enjoying it so far?
I am. What I found is when I was exploring, there was points when I was just like exploring the open worlds, like, why did I love, apart outside the combat, because combat is amazing in both Zero Dawn and Forbidden West, like, why did I love this game so much? It's when you actually start playing through the story bits and go, that's why. When the story really starts picking up. So anyone who's picking it up, for me, I'd advise ploughing through the story a bit before you start exploring the open world too much.
Yeah, enjoy it.
Yeah.
I for one, I love the world that they've crafted, and there's something really satisfying about unearthing something from our current world, what we live in. What would it look like if it was discovered like thousands of years later, hundreds of years later, detached from any knowledge of what it is? It reminds me of the Little Mermaid when she has like the fork and everything she has underwater. She thinks is something else, and she thinks it's a comb, and it's all, and you get all these funny references when it's like, "Ha, you fool! It's a fork."
The one more bit of advice I'd give people is if you haven't played Zero Dawn first, play it or at least watch a plot summary.
Yes.
Because the game assumes that you've played Zero Dawn.
Yeah, it does a good job of kind of recapping in the initial opening, but you just miss.
But there's characters you meet, and she's like, "Oh, it's you again." It's like, and sometimes it took me a while to be like, "Oh, that's guy.
That guy. That's that person." Yeah, I would agree. I've listened to a few kind of gaming journalists talk about it, and a lot of them said they hadn't finished the first one, and I thought, "Oh, you're missing so much," and then criticised Aloy's character for why she's doing things a certain way, and I'm like, the whole reason is in the first game. You're not getting it. And you work for a video game
honestly,
site. So.
That's kind of just bad journalism. I didn't finish the first game. Why is the character doing this? Well, if you'd finished her story in the first game, you'd understand her entire journey through that game.
Yeah.
So you'd understand the character better. Like.
Indeed. Speaking of understanding characters better, this past Thursday we dove back in, to Assassin's Creed Valhalla as part of our weekly Stadia live stream. Every Thursday, 8 PM UK time, we play a game either with the community or sometimes just together to get through some story content. This coming week, we will be playing one of the pro games, which we'll talk about in just a moment when we get into the news. Richie, we went into part 2 of the Assassin's Creed crossover event with Cassandra from Assassin's Creed Odyssey and Eivor. Really enjoyed it again. It was about 2 hours this time, so probably a little bit shorter than the first piece we played a few weeks back. And just jumping back into Valhalla. Once you remember the controls, it always comes flooding back of why I really enjoy Assassin's Creed games, and more so this kind of new open world stylized.
I'm liking this idea of these like very small, shorter stories for Assassin's Creed. I think they do so much more for developing the lore and the world and the story than what you typically I find with Assassin's Creed. You get this huge open world, an interesting story that sometimes gets lost in the weeds a bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think there's interesting ways that they're now pulling on threads to create this kind of Assassin's Creed universe, and we've theorised a little bit before regarding Infinity and what that could look like, and the future of Assassin's Creed, and what the Dawn of Ragnarok DLC is kind of pushing us to believe, but we'll never know until
Infinity
we get Ubisoft.
It's just like kind of almost an ensemble. Oh, what's the way I'm looking? An anthology of these smaller stories.
Yeah.
Maybe these 2 to 5 hour stories, depending how quickly you play and how much of that world you explore. I think there's a potentially great game in there, and because with that you can change up where the location, the characters so quickly from like experience to experience, and have like this like kind of thread that ties them all together, which is looking like it's Cassandra.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, she has the literal opportunity to thread all of the points in history together. We talked about it quite a little bit on the stream of what it could mean and how Cassandra could be that touch point, and very Back to the Future-esque ways of she was around when Ezio's story was happening, she was around when Black Flag was unfurling, and just having her be there almost like Back to the Future or Avengers Endgame, spying on themselves or seeing other people play out. It's really interesting. Obviously not themselves, it's not time travel she's doing. She's just
we talked a bit during the stream. It'd be really interesting to go back to like Renaissance Italy during like Ezio's era, but you're playing as Cassandra and have the stories kind of overlap a bit. So when you're playing through whatever Cassandra's story in that game will be like, and you see like the start of Ezio's journey with like where his family get murdered, and it's like seeing that from Cassandra's perspective could be really cool.
It would, and then it'd just be so good, wouldn't it? Like something she did led to the events of Ezio's family being captured or something like that, or being found guilty, and it's like, oh shit, Cassandra, you owe Ezio a big favour.
Maybe she uncovered the Apple of Eden, and that's how the board just got hold of it.
Before
she could.
So many things.
Yeah.
But we'll have to see where they go with that future story. We know sometimes it can be hit or miss. No doubt we'll hear about that soon. Ubisoft Forward has to be on the horizon. I know we say it every week, but as Stadia fans, Ubisoft is probably the one conference we can look forward to with confidence, knowing fine well that yes, we will get some good news. Let's face it, the next one we're going to hear about X-Defiant, Division Heartlands, updates for Division 2, Skull and Bones. What else have we got coming out? Avatar Frontiers of Pandora. So that's like 5-6 potential games that we suspect will come to the platform. So can't wait for that. Richie, we did actually round up and talk about Ubisoft games as part of this week's SideQuest episode, if I recall.
Yes,
where we released it on the Thursday. Remind the lovely people and our lovely members, of course, who get it up to 6 days early, or 5, 6, 7 days early, in fact, depending on when Chris decides to skip ahead and deliver it. What did we talk about in SideQuest episode 56?
In 56, we will be talking about the Google Development Summit and what we expect from Stadia there, because we know they're going to be there. Oh, do you mean 55 with the Ubisoft
I meant to say
roundup?
55.
All right, well, with 55, we talked everything from Rainbow Six Extraction, potentially more Riders Republic content, more Division 2 content, X-Defiant, Heartlands, everything that is Ubisoft that we could conceive that would come out this year. Prince of Persia remake, potentially. The Settlers, Skull and Bones.
So everything we just touched on there about what we'd like to probably see at the Ubisoft Forward, broke it down with their relationship with Stadia. Terrific.
There's probably about 10 to 15 games from Ubisoft that potentially could drop this year.
On Stadia, which is the
or have thing. New content added.
Yeah. And let's not forget, we're still waiting on Blood Dragon. We're still waiting on Far Cry 4? Isn't out.
Yeah, we didn't actually... That's one thing we didn't touch on. We didn't touch on games that have already been released on other platforms that then could be ported over.
Yeah.
We only touched on stuff that is either on the platform we're expecting new content or stuff that we're expecting to come.
Crazy stuff. Plenty to talk about. So, then, folks, without further delay, we may as well get into the thick of the week's show. If Richie will introduce us to the
super sexy special Stadia story segment, aka The News.
I like saying that every week. I know we do it every week, but it is kind of like a staple of the show.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's been since episode 1, so we can't leave.
I know, it's crazy. But, story number 1. March is here. Already? We're in March? How is that even a thing? The great thing is it's getting lighter outside, it's getting a little bit warmer. We get an hour's daylight. We get an hour's sleep in this month, Richie. Cannot wait. But one thing I can't wait for, and you don't have to wait very long for, everyone, is your March pro games. 5 pro games announced this week. Kicking things off, let's have a look. Top of the pile, from my perspective, a Darksiders Genesis... I was going to say 2 then, for some reason. The Sega Genesis 2? Why have I suddenly went to say 2 at the end of it? Darksiders Genesis is your first pro game to claim this week. It's an action-adventure that tears its way through the hordes of demons, angels, and everything in between on its way to hell and back with guns blazing, swords swinging. Genesis gives players the first look at the world of Darksiders before the events of the original game, as well as introduces the Horseman's Strife. And more importantly, it's a little bit different from your traditional Darksiders game, with being like a top-down co-op as well, couch co-op.
Yeah, it's a top-down isometric dungeon crawler in the vein of, like, the kind of biggest exponent of the genre would be like Diablo.
Yeah.
Rather than the more third person action adventure game that Darksiders typically is.
Yeah, it gives me looking at the footage. It gives me a combination of Helldivers mixed with like those Lara Croft, the Guardian of Light game that we played. It's probably just because it's top down, but it looks like you work together, you solve puzzles, you fight loads of crazy creatures, and wreak havoc.
The Lara Croft games are basically dungeon crawlers where you explore the dungeon, you get more loot, then you can explore more further on and continue the story like that. And games like this, they typically go through like it's weak difficulty in these games. Seems I don't know if this is true for Darksiders, but it is true for things like Path of Exile, Grim Dawn, Diablo, where instead of, when usually in the game you select your difficulty and that's that.
Yeah.
Difficulty works a bit different typically in these games. So once you complete the game, then you play through the game and the next higher difficulty up. But it's almost like New Game Plus, and you just keep working your way up. But every time you up your difficulty, the enemies and stuff get harder, but also the loot gets better.
Yeah. It's fun. Actually, the gameplay of this one appeals to me a lot more than the traditional Darksiders games. I know we have... Yeah. Actually, are all Darksiders games on Stadia being pro now? We got 3
I'm not sure.
Definitive Edition and 2. I feel like every time a Darksiders game out, it's gone on pro not long after.
I actually don't know.
Well, I'll tell you what, while I talk about... the fact that we'll be playing it this Thursday, you can look on the InLeeds Stadia Pro monitor and see if they're actually there. I had a feeling you would be. Yes, folks, this Thursday, I mentioned at the beginning of the show, we play games every Thursday on the channel. We'll be doing it this very Thursday. We'll be diving into Darksiders Genesis, and myself and Richie will be doing some couch co-op. That's right, we're going to be in the same room together to play this game because we don't have like a Lunar couch scenario yet with Stadia. That is one of the features I hope they roll out this year. The ability to just share your gaming session with somebody else via the cloud. Lunar Couch works fantastically from what I've seen. So, but until we can do that, Richie, I'm gonna have to drag your ass around my house, sit you down right here alongside me. I'll make space. I'll scooch you along, and we'll jump into Darksiders Genesis. So join us this Thursday, 8 p.m, as we play through this lovely little action adventure top-down game. Where are we at on the Darksiders catalog?
I'm just looking through the Pro InLeeds Stadia Pro game monitor now, and I so far haven't seen any of the Darksiders games.
We definitely have them because I remember claiming them and then thinking I'm probably never going to play this, unfortunately. In the midst of all the other games I've got.
Darksiders 2 Definitive Edition was a pro game in September 2021, and I believe is no longer claimable. Darksiders 3 was January 2022 and is still claimable.
Huh. That's so soon. I would not have guessed. We need to do a quiz with our audience one time. We do the Stadia Scope game.
When did it come to
just was it ever? I feel like you could tell me games now and I don't think I'd remember if they were on pro or not. So we'll figure that out. And that's it for Darksiders games on the platform, I think. Just those 2 and then this one. Either way, we digress. Darksiders Genesis, claim it tomorrow. Go have fun. Second up, keeping with monsters and creepy things, we have Dawn of the Monsters from Way Forward. This game actually is landing day and date, so if you're excited for this game, if you want to play on any platform, why buy it when you can just claim it as part of Stadia Pro? Dawn of the Monsters, mysterious creatures known as the Nilfgaardmin, I'm saying that wrong, have invaded Earth, and the only thing that can stop them is Dawn, the Defense Alliance worldwide network. Consider yourself the last line of defense as you play as 4 hulking behemoths, Megadon, Aegis Prime, Tempest Galahad, and Ganira, and destroy global cities based on real-world locations. Basically, Richie, it's a beat-em-up fighting game featuring monsters.
Yeah, giant kaiju, and you play as giant things that destroy them. So
giant Power Rangers.
If you're into your side-scrolling beat-em-ups, then this one's probably for you.
Is it side-scrolling beat-em-up, or is it fighty game like 1 versus 1?
I think it's a side-scrolling beat-em-up.
I always thought the trailer made it look as though it was going to be like a...
I might be wrong.
Mortal Kombat.
I'm thinking something like maybe like something like Streets of Rage, where you kind of like the level split into segments. So you defeat all the enemies in a segment, then move on. Or Golden Axe, that was a game.
That was a good game. Well, we'll find out soon. Of course, game is going live on multiple platforms, but you can claim it free with Pro. Dawn of the Monsters as your second pro game of the month. Now, interesting one we've got up next. We've got Adam Wolfe, which, to read the description, Adam Wolfe, step into the shoes of Adam Wolfe, an investigator of the supernatural. Driven by your sister's mysterious disappearance, you'll take them to the brooding streets of San Francisco, where crime and paranormal occurrences intertwine in dark corners. Solving one mystery after another, you'll unravel a larger conspiracy that could lead to your missing sibling. However, one wrong turn and you could end up even darker in the abyss. Now, this one's interesting for multiple reasons, Richie. One, it's coming to the platform, so it's a new game. It got rated, yes, I think, immediately after it was announced. Oddly enough, though, it's a mobile game.
Yeah, it's on Steam as well. It originally launched in 2016, but this is one that I just don't understand. I don't understand why this is coming to Stadia. Because it's designed for like things like touch control, so I think...
Touch input?
I don't know. Yeah. I just don't think the power of the cloud elevates this game in any way. It just feels like if you're interested in this game, you can just play it on your phone anyway. So the only benefit I could see is if you want to play on TV with control, then occasionally switch over. But I don't know. It's just a weird one.
Oh, turn the volume up on the game. Yeah, I have it here to go right now. I thought I'll download it. It's very much like a point and click. Not adventure. It's kind of like if you took the Darkside Detective stories. You've got a bit more movement in terms of going around. It makes it very interactive, like almost like cutscene panels come across. You have weapons and stuff to do. But yeah, there's a body. You click on the body. Question mark shows up. Yeah. He's burned this man alive. I have to stop him. And then you click a panel and it zooms in a little bit on the crime scene. But yeah, again, unless the game's coming to Stadia with touch input, I'm curious to see.
It's rated okay. Generally positive, very positive on Steam. Metacritic says it has like a 6.1 user score. I don't know, it just seems an odd one at a game that is already pretty much accessible wherever you want it because it's a mobile game. Being on Stadia, I don't know.
It seems like a bit of an odd one, just for, like you said, for the sake of having it on Pro. It seems like one of the cheapest.
I can see where the developers...
Oh, yeah.
From the developers, you're putting this in the hands of new people who probably wouldn't have touched it on the phone, because I don't play games on my phone at all. The only games I play is Stadia, so targeting someone like me is not a bad idea, but I just don't... If I wanted to play this game, I could already play it on my phone, so I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah, all I can imagine is the developers maybe made the mobile games or made the Steam game, and they're looking to branch out their like knowledge, their skill set, and possibly they might have another game in the works, and this is the kind of test bed for it. But I'm interested. I think the difference will be is if it has touch input, and then it's kind of like, okay, you just utilize and touch input with the type of game it is.
I feel like this game is one where it needs direct touch. I mean, because it's on Steam, I'm assuming the control is going to work absolutely fine without it. But because it seems to be developed for mobile primarily, touch input's the way to go for me on a game like this.
Well, won't have long to wait to find out. It does actually look quite interesting, the story of it. I like the art style.
Did it cost to download?
It was free, and then episode 1 is free. So we should probably point out
episode 1's free, the others...
It's £8 or something for the full game, which again, I guess if I want to play it, it's there as Pro. But yes, it's episodic, but they're all there in one. So it's taken a Telltale approach. It's quite stylized in a similar way to the Wolf Among Us is, which is ironic because Wolf's in the title. But we digress. So that's your third game for the month. Next up, we've got one for the family: Race with Ryan Road Trip Deluxe Edition. Is coming to Stadia. Join Ryan and his friends on the open road as they tour across America from Route 66 to Icyland, which I didn't realise was in America. Speed towards glory in career mode or rally, 2 to 4 speeds and complete bragging rights. And this is obviously it's a little kart racer game based on the Race with Ryan franchise. We've said many times in the show before, we don't have children, but many of our viewers and listeners do, and I bet you can't wait to play this with your kids. I'm a big fan of kart racers. Of course, me and Richie, we've played Mario Kart and stuff for years. Crash Team Racing is one of my favourite racing games of all time. This isn't for me, but you know what? No. I'd give it a go. I'd set up a race with you, me, and the community. It's 2 to 4 speedsters compete for bragging rights. I'll fire these little cute-looking eggshells at you and hamburgers and shit.
let us know in the comments if you want us to do a stream of this. Because I'm on the fence about it. Because I love kart races when they're done well. I'm not convinced until I get my hands on this that it will be done well.
I mean, kart races don't take that much. I've seen people make kart races in Dreams.
Sometimes sometimes they just come across very bland and dull.
Yeah, they need a hook, don't they? They need a hook to get them in, and obviously.
And I think I remember watching some gameplay of this before, and it just looked slow.
Yeah,
which is not what you want from a kart racer.
One of the interesting criticisms I watched, Stadia Cast, Lloyd had a go at the Fast and the Furious Shifter one, and he actually said there was something to do. You know, in racing games, when if you fall so far behind, it rubber bands you to kind of let you catch up with the pack. He said there was something to do with that, and maybe latency, where because it's a racing game, it's like continual. And I don't know if we've seen it a little bit maybe in Grid and Dirt 5 and stuff, but there's a bit of like rubber banding response where the whole time he was playing the Fast and the Furious game, either it wasn't optimized for cloud or something. It just felt like the car was going through spurts of being pulled forward and dropping back and pulled forward in between like refresh rates.
Hadn't refined that rubber banding. It's not like Mario Kart where everyone knows there's rubber banding in there, but it doesn't feel like it at times. It's just you know it's there, but it doesn't affect how you feel like you're playing the game.
Yeah, I don't know if it was the game or it was like something to do with cloud and relating to that. Yeah. But either way, it's a nice little kart racer. I want more kart racers on the platform. Ideally, I want Crash Team Racing, but now Microsoft own that. That's probably an absolute dream down the well. But yeah, let us know. I'm happy to take on people and race with Ryan. And I'm sure everyone out there with family and kids will love it. Or maybe it's just a big Racing with Ryan fan. Final game for the week. Rounding out hour 5, we have Darkwood. So pivoting from Racing with Ryan, a lovely, colourful,
very different games here,
to Darkwood, a new perspective on survival horror. Scavenge and explore a rich, ever-changing, free-roam world by day, then hunker down in your hideout and pray for the morning light by night. Of course, this is a top-down horror survival game with a very similar art style to Valiant Hearts or Child of Light from Ubisoft, actually, Richie. That's the vibe I get from this. Of course, it's a horror game rather than a...
I disagree with Child of Light. I think the art style is very different.
I just mean like the aesthetics of like the colour palette and the style of the actual drawings, not so much the art style. I'm not kind of thing I was either way, it's a top-down horror game. And usually horror games you either get a first-person perspective or a third-person. Top-down's an interesting one. But we were quite both curious of this game when it came out. The problem I think we had is as with most of these games on Pro, I haven't bought any of them because I always just think if I wait, it'll come to Pro. And
it's kind of
proven right
same
once
for me.
again.
It's like, well, when a smaller title comes to Stadia, it feels like it's going to end up on Pro unless it's a Ubisoft title. Mm-hmm. So, and then, I've had plenty of other stuff to play to keep me busy, so my interests kind of, when it came out, this is an interesting concept, and then moved on, and largely forgot about it, to be honest, till now. But,
and then that's when you go, is it already on Stadia? Yes, it is. Yeah. But that is it. That is your 5 Pro games for March. Do let us know in the comments below if you're happy with this month, you're not happy with this month, what you could think. Richie, overall feeling on these 5 games for the month of March? Is it a good month, bad month, average? Where are you sitting with this one?
I'm personally, for me, because I think this is very subjective, there's a massive scope of games here. I think this is a month, it's on the lower side for me. I'm not particularly that hot on any of the games, to be honest. For me, either Darkwood or Darksiders Genesis are the pick of the bunch. But there again, they've been on the platform for quite a while and I've chosen not to buy either of them. So they're not like standout games.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I think as well the perspective of what games I've currently got in my backlog as well is probably maybe pushing this down a bit.
Yeah.
When I know I've got Horizon to play, I've still got 2 Pokemon games to play.
Kena, Bridge of Spirits.
I've got half an eye on Elden Ring, Kena, Bridge of Spirits. Like, it's kind of like I'm looking at them and going, I don't have time for these games right now, unfortunately.
Yeah, and I don't blame you. I feel exactly the same. To me, this is a bit of a flat month. I think Darksiders Genesis is by far the standout, but even then, that's an older game that's been available for quite some time. There's nothing that's going to turn my head. Would have been great if we got maybe like Witch Queen DLC for free this year to line up with Stadia being free to play. Destiny 2, being free to play. We've got Valhalla.
That'd be undisputed awesome month.
Yeah, just immediately by that. We've got Valhalla free to play weekend just happened. We're going to get onto some news relating to Valhalla soon, but I feel like there's something they could have maybe done this month around that. And this potential, I think I'm sure a lot of people at home are probably wondering the same thing. Like, is this what Pro is basically going to be? It's going to thicken out a catalogue, but you're not really going to see that much great.
Yeah, I think they're in the risk of sometimes going quantity over quality at the moment. Because these are all probably perfectly serviceable games, but none of them have jumped out to me and gone, oh, I'm really interested to the point where I want to play.
Yeah, completely. And in a world where I have, like you said, Horizon Forbidden West sat right there, I've got Gran Turismo 7 coming out in a week. I've got a back catalogue. I've got Valhalla Dawn of Ragnarok to come as well. There's just so much time-consuming games I could delve into that offer me, unfortunately, a bit more than Dawn of Monsters, which might be like an hour or two tops. Ryan's road trip. I still
think you should look at Pokemon Arceus if you can pick it up on the cheap.
Yeah, I've also just finished like 2 back-to-back. Well, actually, I haven't. I've finished 1.5 because you reminded me I hadn't finished Sword when I thought I had.
Yeah.
So we'll get back to that. But that is your Pro games. As I said, let us know in the comments below what your take is of this month's Pro, because we'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions. Moving on, story number 2. We have, Richie, as we alluded to at the top of the show, a Google Developer Summit. Google for Games specifically. And we got some great news this week that Stadia are going to have a presence. So we won't delve into the full one. If you want to go check it out, it's just gamedevsummit.withgoogle.com. And there's a full breakdown of agendas. They're covering multiple sessions across mobile gaming, cloud infrastructure, and additional content. However, anyone who's looked into this site will see that under cloud games and infrastructure...
but I found these results on search.
Okay, great. Be quiet. I wasn't addressing you. If you go into the cloud games infrastructure one, there is a full section and a breakdown of the agenda dedicated. So to start things off, we'll just go in chronological order on the actual site itself. It kickstarts things off with open source backend tech for games with Embark Studios. Now, we should point out, last year they gave us loads of updates regarding the Stadia Pro, the flow of devs, the way money was shared out, the backend for testing. They went quite in depth with a good insight into what Stadia is, the partnerships, and that's where I think we learned about like the Lenovo deal, AT&T partnerships and stuff like that, which actually, looking back in hindsight, the AT&T deal led to Arkham Knight. So they're already talking about this last March. We just didn't see anything until Arkham Knight was out, maybe. But I digress. The thing I did want to pick on this, so according to the first one, is Google Cloud, open source backend tech with Embark Studios. They're going to be going over studios that don't largely invest and build their own optimized backend. Instead, they pass control over to a third party, and Google obviously want in with that. We've said before, Stadia being able to make your games in the cloud, especially whilst working from home, it's been fantastic, and a lot of devs have actually praised Stadia for allowing them to work on the project from people's homes and just have different builds in the cloud. The one thing I want to take away from this one, Richie, is Embark Studios.
Yeah.
They are only founded in 2018. They're here talking about games in a section of this Google for Games Dev Summit, sandwiched between Stadia content. They haven't got a game out yet, but they do have one due out in 2022 in the form of Ark Raiders. Yeah. We actually covered it as part of, I think it was the Game Awards it was revealed at.
Possibly, yeah. I'm fairly confident now that this game is coming to Stadia. Otherwise, why would they be here? It's worth pointing out as well that the head of the studio is the former head of DICE, the guys who make Star Wars Battlefront, Patrick Soderlund. Right. So if you're watching the trailer, there's a couple of times when you get that kind of over-the-shoulder third-person like perspective for the shooter stuff. Like, it does remind me a lot of Battlefront. Obviously, it's a different setting completely, but we know that that game, as much as it got kind of panned a lot, it ran so well.
It's interesting.
And it was beautiful to play, so I think there's a potentially great third-person shooter in here.
Now you said that, and I'm watching the trailer back, Yeah, I can
You
see
notice it when
Yeah, as soon as you say Battlefront, I'm like, yeah, take away the Star Wars aesthetic, and yeah.
It's when I read the words DICE, I was looking who the studio head was, and then I was watching the trailer, like, oh, that makes sense. It clicks.
You know what?
There seems to be some sci-fi elements to this as well. So
yeah, I'm in. So for those who can't remember the Game Awards reveal, Ark Raiders is a cooperative third-person shooter where you and your squad of raiders unite to resist the onslaught of Ark, a ruthless, mechanized threat descending from space. You play as one of the raiders, a group of resistance fighters. With the help of a patchwork early warning system, you fight to protect our home against the enemies dropping from orbit. Ark is faceless and unfeeling, but no one could accuse Ark of being unresponsive. In fact, Ark responds to resistance with ever-increasing destruction. Then they go on to talk about resist and fight and jump right into the free-to-play world. So, in a free-to-play world, so I'm guessing, is this game just going free-to-play? That would suggest that it would.
I think we need to find out more. But what we do know is it's currently confirmed for PS5, Xbox Series X and S, Steam, GeForce Now.
Okay.
So this is next-gen only, by the looks of it. So I don't know, I feel pretty confident this is coming to Stadia because it'd be weird for it not to. But there again, this is Google. So.
Yeah, again, it is. But I think to pivot back to the actual dev summit, why would they have a 25-minute slot preceding bear in mind, the next slot is playtesting made easy on Stadia. Why would they have any need to be at a Google conference unless they're specifically there to talk about making Ark Raiders using cloud tech but not bringing it to Stadia? It's either going to be a big shoot in your own foot for the Google and Stadia gaming combination team again, which wouldn't surprise me. Yeah. But you know what? We need games for 2022. I can't imagine Stadia aren't bringing any day and date good quality AAA titles to the platform. No disrespect, Dawn of Monsters, but it's not quite AAA what I expect from a gaming platform. So, I think we could safely say, I don't know whether this is a scoop, but I'm confident we will be getting Ark Raiders on Stadia this year.
Not. I wouldn't call it a scoop because it's not confirmed.
Well, we reported on it first.
Yeah, I think it's got a very good chance, and we'll find out in a couple of weeks. And I think this could be, by the looks of it, a potentially really cool game for Stadia. This could be actually a good get. So.
I agree. I don't think I was that fussed on it when it was revealed at the Game Awards, because I think we were probably an hour and a half, 2 hours into Trailer City then. But with you mentioning the Battlefront thing and how much I've got the Platinum in Battlefront 2, that gameplay, strip away Star Wars, there is a good game there. If it's not laden with microtransactions, this could be one to watch. And it does have a cool 80s aesthetic, which who doesn't love?
If it's free to play, there's going to be microtransactions in it of some kind.
There's a point. We'll see.
But as long my issue with the problems in Battlefront is half the content was locked behind microtransactions or incredibly long grinding. Often 20, 30, 40 hours of grinding to get unlock single characters. Mm-hmm. And then the star cards just broke the game.
Yeah.
It was you had pay to win mechanics in there. So that's so they hit the microtransactions in a bad way from all different directions. Mm-hmm. If this is largely, yes, there's microtransactions there, it's largely going to be cosmetic stuff, plus potential season passes, battle passes, that sort of stuff, then I think we've just got to a point as a gaming industry where these are just largely accepted.
Yeah, I agree.
Especially if it's a free-to-play game, so...
We'll see. But yeah, now I'm excited. Now I've got myself all hyped up and excited, even though we know nothing. Next up, Stadia are taking the stage, so bear in mind that particular first one is listed under Google Cloud, and this one's listed under Stadia, so I guess don't get our hopes up too much. Play testing made easy on Stadia, so Ryan Bartley will be taking to the virtual stage to talk about Stadia's infrastructure and tooling made easy to test your gameplay no matter where you or your team work. Kind of goes off the back of the working from home initiative that Stadia pushed for back in 2020 when the world went into lockdown. We then have a Project Density, not Destiny, talking about live-scale metaverse, which again I hate the term metaverse, but of course Google are going to be involved with that. They've got cloud customer engineers and chief product officers on board to talk about that. We've then got Markik Undak from the Stadia porting team to talk about writing Windows emulators for Linux from scratch, which I think there's been quite a lot of talk on Twitter this past week and social media about Steam Deck and Google pushing to get Windows to Linux ports actually a lot further along than they currently sit, because Windows have this massive hold over kind of gaming on PC and such.
Yeah, the install base on Windows is absolutely huge.
Yeah.
So any sort of PC games have pretty much been developed for Windows. It makes sense if you're a developer, but now things like Google have like are working using Linux. You've got things like even Amazon Luna are looking into Linux.
Yeah.
Steam Deck runs natively on Linux, although you can install Windows.
Yeah.
There is a bit of a push, I think, because Linux being open source, that you remove the licensing fees, which theoretically can make things cheaper. But in practice, I think it just makes some things more profitable.
Yeah. Again, it's interesting to see all of these other... Because, again, Amazon Luna runs off Windows predominantly, or Microsoft.
Which, I think Amazon are taking the right approach, to be honest. Let's focus on... We'll develop the platform on Windows, but then maybe get it over to Linux later, because it makes the porting easier right off the gate, out the gate, which means you can get that early library stronger. Yeah. And then you can focus on moving it, transferring it over later.
Yeah, and Amazon obviously have their own studios still. So for all we know, all of the dev teams at Amazon Studios could be saying, "Look, we'd rather work with Linux than all this." It's open source, and we know Google, Android, they are literally the massive creators of open source, large scale platforms.
And you don't have to have Microsoft Edge.
Yes, get rid of it. So Markin's going to take the stage and talk about detailed overviews of the tech behind Google's solution for running unmodified Windows games on Stadia. This is a deep technical walkthrough of some of the core concepts with the goal to allow curious programmers to better understand such tech and potentially build their own. Yeah. So win-win.
Yeah, I think what we're looking at there is we heard last year that they were further developing their porting tools to make it easy for developers. I think this is where they're going to go outright and go, right, this is what we've been working on, so this is how it's going to make your life easier. Because we've had this is what we're doing, but we haven't had the how it's going to work. I think this will be the how it's going to work.
Yeah, very interesting. Next up, we've got migrating a live game service to Google Cloud. So this is in line. It actually says Bandai Namco speak about their experience doing this with the Google Cloud. Can't really think what Bandai Namco games utilize the cloud that much. Pac-Man?
Dragon Ball Xenoverse?
Maybe. Yeah, Little Nightmares certainly didn't. Yeah, I'm trying to think. In my mind, I picture like these big, vast games when they talk about live service, but actually, I guess,
Dragon Ball Xenoverse is an MMO, so it's got that persistent shared world, so that's where they're probably harnessing it.
Okay. True. So they're going to be there talking about that. We've then got Stadia Adventures in slow server code on Unity. This will be Scott Wardle, technical solutions engineer, taking to the stage to talk about profiling, debug building, performance, job managers, and getting the best compilers to work on a legacy Unity project called Stadia Adventure. Whatever that looks like. Do you think we're going to get a game called Stadia Adventure? Is this Worm Game, Richie? Worm Game Stadia, Stadia Adventure?
It's about time, you cowards. Bring out Worm Game.
It's probably going to be like a little daft internal game to demonstrate tools and procedures and stuff. So check out Scott Wardle's content on that. We've then got successfully launching and streaming a data pipeline. We know last year they spoke about the pipeline from start to finish for devs, what it looks like, streamlining it, getting things verified and stuff. So they're going to talk about that a bit more. Another Stadia one following that, we've got Piers Gimmig and Michael Antilla, both software engineers, talking about profiling on Stadia. The Stadia Dev X team is actively developing its performance profiling solutions for both CPU and GPU, and learn about the philosophy behind Orbit, our CPU and system profiler, dive in GPU analysts tools. So lots of technical blah blah. It means nothing to me. Two guys are basically going to come and talk about profiling games that work well for Stadia, I guess. And then finally, building an in-game currency platform to run, and then an open chat about open source toxicity detection framework from Dan and Patrick. Odd one to end on. Detect toxic speech in the vernacular of your game's players. I guess that's to catch arseholes online. Anti-toxicity models.
this might
machine
be like,
learning. So it sounds like
I was going to say this is going to probably using Google's AI to kind of identify harassment.
Mm-hmm.
So rather than having to rely on a reporting system, where you're relying on people not just quitting the game and moving on with their life, they're actually going through the process of reporting someone.
Yeah,
and imagine this could probably identify, okay, no, this person is this hate speech, this is bigotry, let's ban them instantly.
Yeah, I think that's smart. Again, if you can have just key buzzwords picked up, and if you hit so many within a certain time frame, then you get flagged as you're clearly not.
It's one of them. It's smart in a lot of cases. I worry slightly how this technology could be used to monitor people's speech. It can be a bit invasive at times.
Mm-hmm. But it is in the terms and conditions, right?
Yeah. I'm thinking about outside of video games how that could. That technology is quite a little frightening.
Yeah, I know. I guess. I know Microsoft came into criticism for that a while back about, I can't remember, it's something to do with Donald Trump and stuff, and Phil Spencer actively came out and said, look, Microsoft isn't a political platform, we're a gaming platform. If we want to ban people from our network, we don't owe you anything. Like, we let you play our games on Xbox. If you're being a dickhead or you're being an asshole, we can boot you out with no ramifications because it's our platform.
He's out terms of service. This is how you breached it.
Yeah,
Bye-bye.
exactly. And I do agree with that. But all in all, Richie, I think we should be a little excited about this Dev Summit. And I said at the beginning of the show, I'm just excited for employees at Stadia to actively have a platform to talk about their work and their passion.
This is the reality. We have, for the first time in like 18 months or whatever, in over a year, an event of some description that we know Stadia are going to be at.
Mm-hmm. And it's not Ubisoft.
I mean, it's a developer summit. It's not aimed at us as consumers.
Definitely.
Or even us, if you want to broadly put us into the press category, but they are there talking about Stadia-related things. Yeah.
Which not only shows it's not dead, and sorry, killed by Google, hashtag.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet.
But at the same time, they're still planning for the future. They're talking to devs who, we said a few shows back, I think, if you're making a game that's probably not going to be out in 2 or 3 years, then why is Stadia still courting developers if they don't plan to have games coming out over the next few years?
And the critical thing as well for me here is the word Stadia and not game. They could have went for a more generic term just like gaming, play testing made easy on Google.
Google Stream?
Google or something. Or Google, even if they didn't want to go, we're not going to separate Google Stream and Stadia. Playtesting made easy with Google instead of playtesting made easy on Stadia.
Yeah.
They've specifically put that word, and that is a choice as well.
Yeah, certainly is. So
again, profiling on Stadia could have been profiling in games with Google.
Yeah, completely right. So stuff to hopefully be excited about, and maybe we'll even see Phil at some point. Or maybe a Connect, or maybe something, because we are heading into March now. And this, like you said, this has been many, many months. And at some point, the community, the players, they will get riled up again due to the silence. We go through it, like you and me go through it, don't we? We have our ups and downs where, like, you feel in a good mood, you get some pro games, but then you look elsewhere and you see Elden Ring comes out, you see Guardians of the Galaxy comes out, you see Horizon and all these other big titles come out, and you look at the roadmap for the rest of the year and think, what, I've got Ariverse coming. Yeah, Ariverse coming, which we should have got last year. More Valhalla content, probably some Ubisoft stuff. And what? So, yes, use this Dev Summit to kind of kickstart your year. It's going to be a long one. Right, let's pivot away, Richie, from the Dev Summit. We've talked about new games from Embark. We've talked about devs taking to the stage. Let's pivot back and talk about some actual game news we know about. Rainbow Six Siege Year 7 has been announced from the Ubisoft team. They've given us a bit of a roadmap, just to lightly touch on it. They're breaking it down into 4 seasons, as per usual. Each new season comes with a new operator. Season 1 comes with an operator from Japan, followed by Belgium, Singapore, and then Colombia. Each included with the Battle Pass. You get new maps, new map modes, ranging from permanent team deathmatch to the shooting range to arcade modes. There are new events that are going to be dropping throughout all of the content as well. They've added some new security features in for player protection. Cross-play and cross-progression are still very much included with Rainbow Six Siege. and a bunch of other stuff. I won't go too much into it because I'm sure if you're a Rainbow Six fan, you've probably looked into it yourself. Richie will probably jump back into Siege at some point. We like to delve into it every now and again. It's crazy to think that it's in year 7.
I know. I honestly think this is a game that they just need to keep going with it. I don't why sunset this game as long as there's people playing it. Keep going, keep adding new maps, keep adding new characters, keep adding new game mods. Like, just keep going.
Yeah, completely agree. I think there's a lot that can still be done with Siege, and you know what? If all else fails with Extraction, fold that into Rainbow Six Siege as well. They're practically the same game. One just has aliens. But moving on to our next bit of Ubisoft news, they are apparently very happy with Skull and Bones. We reported on Skull and Bones, or we discussed Skull and Bones part of the earnings call a week or so ago, and they've since came out and reportedly said they're very happy actually with the pirate game that's been in development since what, 2016, 17 it feels like. So while the developer publisher didn't explicitly reveal any further information about the game's development, reading from Eurogamer, in discussion during the earnings report, they actually said they were very happy so far, but they've got no plans to delay or cancel the project further, which means we are on track to see it before financial year 2023. I thought I'd just throw this one over to you, Richard, to think, when maybe do you think Ubisoft want to drop this game this year? If you were to drop a pirate game in 2022, where would you put it?
Well, it's a financial year 2022-2023, so it could be as late as next March.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is probably later in the year. This year though, I'm not sure. It depends because we don't have a Ubisoft Forward plan that we know of right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this game does need a Ubisoft Forward.
Yes, I think we need to see a lot more actual gameplay.
Yeah. And I don't think it'll be too long after that. I think what they've done is, because I think I've got a feeling that they've redeveloped a lot of concepts of this game.
Mm-hmm.
Especially with Ubisoft's change to focus more on these kind of persistent world. How can we keep you involved in the game, keep you monetized, and coming back with things like season passes, and then unfortunately the NFT situation.
Yeah.
So I think they've probably reworked a lot of stuff like that, which might be the reason for the delays.
Yeah.
But again, I don't know. I'm gonna go. We don't really have many dates for later in the year. So it's hard to put. I'm gonna go September. But I haven't got a good reason to say that. It just feels
it could go a lot of ways.
It feels like they don't want to get in. I feel like the Christmas period, like October, November, is usually pretty crowded.
Yeah, I think it's too busy.
I think they want to hit before that. I don't think this
summer.
game will, summer would be good.
Yeah, I just think it needs its sea legs, funnily enough, to actually get an audience rather than be overwashed by, like you said, the busy period that is Christmas.
Yeah, it depends if we get Ubisoft Forward before E3.
Yeah.
If we get one before E3, I think the summer. If we don't get one before E3, I think it's autumn.
Yeah, because we do know Ubisoft and know that they never scare away from sabotaging their own games. We saw that with the release of Watch Dogs, Immortals, and Assassin's Creed, all at the same, all within like a month of each other. So it's interesting. Are they going to drop like Division 2 content, Assassin's Creed content, Skull and Bones, sandwiched between Tom Clancy's Heartlands and X-Defiant, and then it starts to get really muddy with different genres and stuff. But
I really think the more I think about it, the more I'm convinced that this game needs a Ubisoft Forward, because there's a lot of stuff we need to know. We need to know basically more about the gameplay. What sort of, is it going to be a strong narrative? Is it just going to be whatever? We need to know about the monetization. How much is it going to cost?
Yeah.
What the season passes and stuff like going to look like? We just don't know enough about what the game is. All we know is it's a pirate game. That's basically where you basically are the ship.
Yeah, I think my biggest dream for it, I've said before, is they come out with a Ubisoft Forward, show off the gameplay, remind us how good Black Flag was and how everyone loved it, and give us a bit of content to grab on it, because I think Extraction fails for me because it's got no story really. It's got no reason to keep its hooks in me. Whereas if Skull and Bones can come out and say, look, we've got a really cool pirate-esque story woven throughout the live service gameplay, give me a reason to keep coming back, because if you're just going to give me a ship and I just have to level up the ship and level up cannons and my crew, that's not going to get me to go back to it. As fun as it is, I need to care about the cast.
The ship combat in Black Flag was fun. Was really fun. It was probably one of the standout things about that game. Does that on its own, is that on its own enough to actually carry a game, an ongoing title?
Exactly.
And also, I think that we're quite a while out from Black Flag now, and each Assassin's Creed game, the ship content is kind of dropped in importance. So I think I do worry slightly. Like, this is why they need to sell this game to us. Like, this is what the game is. This is how much it's going to cost. This is what the battle pass is going to be. Like, we need to know more about what the whole overall concept of the game is.
Yeah. I would completely agree. And we just have to look at other games like Extraction. I know it did well because it was on Game Pass, but I don't see anyone talking about it anymore because it's got no story. There's no one picking it up and playing it past the point.
I think that's a bit of me and you not being these like games of service style gamers. Like,
maybe.
Because we'll jump in, we'll have a good time with Extraction for like a week or two, and then we'll move on, where other people... You look at Rainbow Six Siege, we'll jump in for like an evening or two every now and again, and then not touch it for like 6 months. Where other people will be playing it every night in that 6 month period.
I guess this is where
we're just not.
Is it going
like
full
kind
price
of clued in properly,
or free service? Because like Battlefield 2042, no story, no campaign, no one. Obviously, the game was broken anyway. But if it comes out free, it's weird because Ubisoft are at the tail end of like a bad run of PR, and I feel like this game was incubated and made through all that bad press. Like, they can't pivot this game now and make it probably what people want. This is going to be a reflection of the last 5 years of Ubisoft, which doesn't bode well, I don't think.
Which is why I mentioned earlier about things like NFTs, microtransactions, season passes. Like, what's the monetization? I don't think it's going to be free. I don't think it's going to be full price. I think it needs to be around about the £30 mark. The reason I say that is this is a Ubisoft Plus game for me. This is the game where you want people to get Ubisoft, a game to try and funnel people in the Ubisoft Plus. Yeah. So you want to price it at a level where if people just buy the game, they'll buy it. But other people will look at it and go, take that moment to think, what's the best way for me to access this game? Yeah. And with Ubisoft Plus, you can just have the season pass baked in as well. So
that is true. You get that super deluxe gold edition included.
Yeah.
But Skull and Bones, fingers crossed it is good. Fingers crossed soon. We don't have many pirate games. Remember Overboard on the PS1 demo disc?
No.
That was good. Shout out to Overboard. Moving on to the Ubisoft news, we've got some nice quick ones here for you, ladies and gentlemen. Dawn of Ragnarok, of course, comes out in March, so you don't have too long to wait until this massive 40-hour expansion comes to Valhalla. However, if you are playing on Stadia, you can head over and pre-order it right now as part of Pro with a discount. That's right, the usually £40, €40, whatever your local currency price tag is, has seen a massive discount. So, Richie, if you're living in the EU, you can pick it up for €23.99. If you are actually in the UK, you can pick it up for less than £20. It's coming in at £19.79, down from £32.99. So, interesting again to see this get a discount so soon before its launch.
For something that's meant to be 40 hours, that's basically a full game on its own.
Do you think there's a chance Ragnarok ever goes just standalone? Like, you don't need Valhalla to play Dawn of Ragnarok?
I don't think so. I think if they were going to do that, they would have had the opportunity already.
Interesting.
Although I honestly think they could almost charge more for it if they brought this out as just, hey, we brought a new game. It's a spin-off Assassin's Creed game called Dawn of Ragnarok. It's £40. Yeah. I think they could sell it for £40 without having to need the sale, but.
I mean, yeah, if you're over stateside, it's $49.99 down to $29.99. That's $20 off for a 40-hour expansion to an already massive game. So
that's it. It's a 40-hour expansion. If they went like, oh, it's a slightly smaller title, so it's not the $60 price point, and we target a $40 price point. I think they really could just sell this on its own.
Yeah, guess we'll find out soon enough. Moving along, a couple of Ubisoft tidbits while we wrap up this Ubisoft block. Just Dance 2020 is no longer available on Stadia or any other platforms, as far as we're aware. It looks like the music licensing deal is up for that particular iteration of the Just Dance games. We should point out it's never been on Ubisoft Plus, so we've always said, I think, Richie, due to music licenses, it's probably not going to appear on the subscription service.
That's the assumption we've always made.
And as with most older games, one of the stumbling blocks usually is the music licensing, because games were made many, many years ago before... is it DMRC is the thing that broke Apple Music as well?
Yeah, I think so.
Where you needed a certain license, and then people were like, well, that's not fair. If I buy it on iTunes, I own the music. I lease the music. You shouldn't be beholden to keeping it on an Apple device. And then it was all broken.
I think the way things have kind of settled down now is the license tends to be for selling.
Yeah.
So if you have Just Dance 2020, it's similar to the Football Manager situation. You still have it.
Yeah.
But you can no longer purchase it.
Yeah. These products cannot be sold outside of a multi-pack. Yeah. Almost like when you get shops that sell those crisps and drinks as standalone cans. It says 19p on the can, but you're selling it to me for 50. Why is that? Yeah. That's annoying. Anyway, final bit of Ubisoft news. Rainbow Six Extraction, which I know I've just basically ripped apart for the last 20 minutes, is also having its Fest event. The spillover event from Rainbow Six Extraction was teased as a crisis event for a limited time. It's now live. In the shooter's first and free post-launch content drop, operators must plant a dissolution agent canister to wipe out colonies of alien sprawl. In all, there are 9 sprawl colonies to find across the map. As you may expect, the mission requires stealth, strategy, and oodles of patience, and planting all 9 canisters is no easy feat. You'll routinely be attacked by a swarm of angry Archeans. And the event also introduces a new old favourite from the roster, Grom. Of course, anyone who plays Rainbow Six Siege, you'll remember Grom. And he's a new member to the React team. He comes with an auto-deployable turret that automatically targets the aliens and rewards you for getting through. And again, to double down at Richie, this is my problem with Extraction. Great, you've brought over another operator, but it just sounds like it's a game mode that is just more of the same. Yeah. I don't know who Grom is. I don't really care about this React team. The Archeans, I don't know where they came from, what they're doing, other than like that intro you get when you start the game. Again, super fun game. Have a great time every time I play it. Just this, no reason to go back. There really isn't for me. Sorry.
Yeah, it's just one of them games where it's all about the gameplay. So if you're into the gameplay and it's like you love that loop, it's the same. I think it's the same sort of mentality as well. People play things like Fortnite and Warzone and stuff like every night. It's like they're not doing it for the lore. They're doing it because they're just, that's their style game. They love that gameplay loop.
True. I think sometimes it's an age
like
thing as
the
well.
Interaction. Me and you are quite similar. We like that interaction between story and gameplay to drive us through the experience rather than just gameplay. Well, I can get away with just story in smaller titles, but
I'd love to know what our audience think, because our audience are predominantly the similar age to us, and I think it does sometimes come down to like prioritizing time in your life. And I think back at 20-year-old Chris, who's just got college 5 days a week and a lot of free time, would quite happily sit there. But now I like picking up with like you and me when we go out for a beer and say like, oh, where you're at in Horizon, what chapter, what story have you just done, what mission have you just done? Whereas if we played Extraction, it would be, oh yeah, I got top score last night in 3 raids or something, and it just doesn't go anywhere.
We did the thing before we started recording, or we sat down and you're trying to give out clues to try and so we can kind of sync up where we're at on Horizon without doing any spoilers. It's like, have you got the thing that lets you do this? Like, yeah, I got that. I've progressed a bit. It's like, all right, okay, I understand where you're at now.
yeah, I've got it. But I do like. Well, I still play FIFA, but I go through ebbs and flows. But I'm also a football fan, so it's a bit different with sports. You get that itch to go back to it.
FIFA's one of them. I'll jump in for an hour or two while I've got a podcast, listen to a podcast or something.
Weird. Let us know, everyone. Let us know at home. Are you still playing Extraction? What if you think it's got any future legs, or do you think it's dead in the water? Speaking of things that are dead, Richie, moving on to the next story, away from the Ubisoft news, how The House of the Dead Remake has been officially rated for Stadia. Now, we actually... this was rumoured a while ago, because we definitely covered it on a show at some point.
Yeah.
But it does appear that the long-running rumour is true. Back in September, Stadia Source, our good friends Dan and Lee and the team over there, broke the news that it was rumoured it's going to be
September
remade.
2019 they broke that news.
Yeah, I know. There was another report last year, but either way, it's now been rated by ESRB, so the House of the Dead. It does look as here. Again, very interested to see how this is going to happen, because if anyone remembers out there, this was a light gun shooter from the arcades. Very fun light gun shooter. Don't know how I guess is it just going to be a first person shooter now?
I don't know. It might just be you get the reticule and you just move that using your
like
D-pad,
point
which
blank.
takes something a bit away from it. This feels like it should be a VR game.
I mean,
them kind of arcade like gun style games I think are great for VR.
Die Hard trilogy.
Yeah,
that was a great one for the light gun. But either way, hopefully we won't have to wait too much longer for that. One thing I'm hoping we do see some of, actually, this week there was an announcement from 2K. It's leaked. So over at Video Games Chronicle, apparently 2K have secured a Lego license for a range of sport games. And the first one coming up is a multi-partnership focusing on football, soccer. So a Lego game based on football, possibly in line with FIFA. It's then going to be followed up with an open world Lego racing game. Is currently in development by a different studio. So just to break that down a bit more, football games coming from Sumo Digital, who just released the Little Big Planet, Sackboy's Big Adventure on PlayStation 5 and 4. So they're pivoting to making a football soccer game. The racing game is going to be in development by Visual Concepts, who are just about to put out WWE 2K 2022.
Again, another quite interesting pivot for that.
Yeah, agreed. And apparently further, there is a deal to continue making other games under the Lego license. Now, that's not to be confused with Traveller's Tales, who've done many, many games for Lego in the past. So they're currently about to put out the Lego Skywalker Saga. Yeah. They've done Harry Potter, Marvel Superheroes, amongst other things. But the Lego license isn't beholden to Traveller's Tales. So the Lego license obviously surpassed. Lego's a weird one because it works with so many IP and franchises, and yet it also is its own thing. Like Lego was around for many years before they started pivoting towards these. I think this is great. I'm very interested to see, like, again, Lego's Lego. It can be customized and tweaked to basically do anything. And as someone who was a massive fan of Lego races back in the day, I had it on PC. Yeah, this could be great. I'm down for a Lego football game.
Yeah, I mean, interesting thing is, will they have the full FIFA licenses, or will it be just like... There's stuff to be seen there. I either think it's one that either you get all the proper licenses and you run with it, or you just go, you know what, we're not going to bother with that, we're going to do it entirely our own thing. We're just going to use the sport as a concept.
Yeah. I mean, just
I don't like
Lego
the whole,
people.
It's the Pro Evo problem where I don't want to play as Tyneside Blacks or something weird like that.
Blue, yeah.
Yeah.
Apparently, the football game is actually going to be out in line with the World Cup this winter, so we're actually not probably too far out from hearing about this game. And Lego racing. We said earlier in the show about kart races. Racing with Ryan's one thing. Would I be a million times more interested if it was a Lego racer? Yeah,
absolutely.
Because I've got no affinity for racing with Ryan. Sorry, dude. But
with that customizability.
Yeah, let me make my Lego car. That was what was so good about Lego races.
Build your own car.
Yeah, make a pirate ship out of Lego and then put wheels on it, and it just steers the same as every other kart because it's just a kart racer and there's not really that much changes.
That's a unique twist that a Lego Racers game can have that other kart racers don't. Other kart racers go, I can pick and choose out of a couple of different vehicles for my character. Lego Racers, let's just build one.
Yeah, and I don't know if you played Lego Racers, Richie, but guess what? Was the boxes and the crates you smash through in Mario and the little coloured bits.
You got pieces.
It was just a blue Lego brick, a red Lego brick, a yellow and a green Lego brick, and they give you different powers, missiles, blue shell-esque things. And following on from this story, there is apparently another third sports title in the works based on a major sports franchise. So throw it over to you, Richie. What is that big franchise? Are we talking NFL? Are we talking golf? Lego golf?
It's 2K.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm leaning towards. I'm trying to remember.
Basketball?
Maybe basketball. Maybe WWE. WWE Lego.
I mean, I'd take that as well. The Undertaker
They've been
and
trying
Lego.
a bit to trying to get a more kid-friendly WWE game, so...
You know what? The WWE Battlegrounds was terrible. So it can't be any worse if you give them all Lego skins, and like when you do get them in a chokehold, the head pops off. It's like sort of like Lego head, pop it back on. You get them in
that's what I'm thinking. You could work that sort of comedy into
Yeah.
it. Where I'm trying to think of like how would basketball lend itself to a bit more of Lego style comedy.
That's
Like,
what my tick is. Like I could imagine.
How would what would the ball look like?
Yeah. It'd be
Just a brick, an orange brick.
that doesn't bounce either because it's not rubber.
Yeah.
But yeah, Lego.
It just sticks to the floor because of the little sticky
Yeah.
up bits.
WWE could be a good shout actually, because I could see like a Royal Rumble, you get throughout the net and you just break into loads of pieces, or someone pins you and your leg comes off, and like loads of specials, and you can tag team and actually stack your Lego people on top of each other.
You can see someone hop. I can see it in my mind now, like a Lego piece, hopping across the ring to pick up his leg and put it back on.
Yeah, walls of Jericho, your whole limbs come off. Yeah. Or you could almost picture the specials like The Rock's eyebrow. He pulls his arm off to do the people's elbow, and there's so much stuff. Yeah, I would definitely check them out. And again, it can't be worse than Battlegrounds. Whatever the gimmick.
I want
they
that
went
game
with
now.
Yeah, so do I.
I'm not a wrestling fan, but that sounds awesome.
Give me a racing game. Give me a football game, like in line with like FIFA Street, maybe 5-a-side. I don't need it to be manager simulator or anything like that or serious. But the reason we bring it up is because again, 2K have a relationship with Stadia as far as we're aware. So, and we've said for many years now, the Lego games would be awesome on Stadia. They really, really would. And I think this year I'm probably due for disappointment when Lego Star Wars comes out and it ain't here. But we'll know soon enough because it's coming in April. Only 2 months away now, Richie. Speaking of final stories of the week, things that have been announced but probably won't come. The teaser that Capcom were showing off this past week with the countdown. Some people thought it was Resident Evil. Some people thought it was something new maybe. It turned out that it was Street Fighter 6. It's been announced. They showed off a 30-second teaser with Ryu looking ripped as per usual. It's going to come later on this summer, running in the RE engine, the same as Resident Evil Village and Biohazard, which we have on Stadia. We haven't got many fighting games actually outside of Mortal Kombat from WB, annoyingly enough. And what do you think, Richie? Is this one coming to Stadia with its terribly generic logo, or?
Oh yeah, I was going to bring up the logo. I was going to bring up Logo Gate actually.
You know what? I saw them getting loads of shit for the logo, and I was thinking, you know what?
I don't think the logo itself is bad, but Street Fighter's got very distinctive stylized logos. Like
it does.
Just stick with it. It's fine. Like they've tried. It looks like they're trying to modernize something that just doesn't need it to be. Just leave it alone.
Yeah, leave it alone. It's also interesting how I saw loads of people going, "This looks like they've used a stock image." It's like, well, there's only so many shapes and styles you can use in the world before stuff starts to look the same. Like, these won't be the first to have a hexagon with 2 letters inside it, and they won't be the last. But no surprise.
For me, that argument though means it's like, well, if you're just going to go with something generic, why change?
True.
They went for a more modern style, but I don't know.
We'll see.
It doesn't bother me because I'm not a Street Fighter fan, but I think the old logo is like, just stick with it.
Of course, the last one was exclusive to PlayStation as well, so people are unsure whether this is or this isn't. We don't know. Hopefully it comes to Stadia. I'd love to see another fighting game on the cloud platform, but alas, we just have to wait to really find out more. Final stories for the week then. Some really quick ones here. Chorus now has a demo, so anyone who didn't check out Chorus previous to Christmas, we have a first look up on the channel. I dived in and had about a 50 minute or hour look at the game from Deep Silver and Fish Labs. Really enjoyed it. Gameplay is super fun. The world's really interesting. Have I played any more of it? No, unfortunately. I think other big games came out. Very much if you ever want to just fly a starship and shoot stuff up, really good for that. And yeah, check out the demo. Will you be checking it out, Richie? I know you didn't buy the game.
Probably not. Honestly, it looks. I do like the look of the game, but I've just got too much to play at the moment.
Yeah, it's just another thing added to your pile, isn't it? That is the problem. But you know what? If you're on the fence with it, there's no doubt some discounts coming off the back of the demo. Go check it out. It's available now. Again, very Star Wars inspired, I'd say. I think if you're that way inclined, you've got that itch to fly around in a starfighter. It's actually a shame it's not a Star Wars game, probably. But then again, everything can't be off a massive famous IP. Final story of the week. Well, actually, quick ones. There's quite a few, actually. Farming Simulator 2022. has its first DLC, the Antonio Carrera pack, which I think we always have this with Farming Sim DLC, that we have no clue about farming merchandise or machinery. So how are we to know what this actually is? It's the historic Italian manufacturer, apparently. Players will be able to purchase the pack separately. It brings you more machinery, specialised equipment, all the way from Italy. Versatile tractors, articulated reversible, quad-track flagship, the Mac 4R, Tony 10900 SR, TR, TTR, as well as the TTR 4000 and the Tiger Car 3200, Richie. What does that mean to you?
Absolutely nothing. If you're into farming sim, cool, you get more stuff.
Yeah, we'd have to get our friend Leon to talk about it, because I know he plays tons of Farming Simulator exclusively over on the Cloud Gaming Dad channel. Hours and hours, in fact. But yeah, this is lost to me. I love Farming Simulator for what it is, but unfortunately Antonio Carraro does not have a place in my heart. Final ones, EA Fallout, talking about EA FIFA. It may not be a Lego game, but apparently one of the FIFA directors has come out and actively now saying that it looks like this relationship with the 4 letters on the front of the box, or the branding.
It's more than that, though, mate.
Yeah, it is a little bit more than that. But it doesn't. It does actually look like FIFA may not be called FIFA when this actually license renews, because to come out actively,
I'd say it's more than that. If they keep all the licenses for all the tournaments, all the players, all the stadiums, all that sort of stuff, the stuff that actually is the game, then it's just 4 letters on the box.
Yeah.
But if they start having to change the name of things like the World Cup or the Champions League or the names of players or the names of teams, then it's much more than 4 letters on the front of the box.
Well, that's what he goes into in the article. He actually does say that they only really rely on the FIFA name for the FIFA World Cup. Whereas it sounds like all the deals in between, like the clubs and the sponsorships, they're actually dealt with separately.
Yeah.
So
I mean, if they basically launched FIFA 23 as basically FIFA 22, but called it EA Sports Football 23, and everything else behind the scenes is fine, then fine. But again, I do think it's a major like part of the brand, though.
Yeah, I mean, people, again, arguably FIFA, the name is more recognised as the game than it is the governing body of football in the world.
Yeah, when someone says FIFA to me, I'm not thinking of the Federation for International Football Association. I'm thinking of EA Sports FIFA games.
Yeah, exactly. Me too. That's exactly what I go to.
That might be why the problem.
Maybe. But time will tell. It's probably going to be there for the foreseeable future for now. I don't know what we call it. It probably will just be EA Soccer or EA Football, and then insert the name. Just like we got NFL, NHL. It's just the sport, so why not? They've done it with other things, golf and such. So only time will tell. Final story of the week, we do have, of course, Destiny 2 Witch Queen is available now. Loads of people out there in our Discord server. We've got a special channel dedicated to Destiny 2. I've seen loads of people jump back in with Witch Queen, have a great time, and I think we just want to use this as a point to say, if you are actively playing Destiny 2, or you're a big Stadia gamer, or you're just like a like-minded individual like lots of our viewers, listeners, and we are, Richie, jump into our Discord, the link's in the description below. Join us, talk to us all day, every day about anything and everything, really. But if you are a Destiny 2 fan, there is a dedicated channel for you to hook up with other people and plan in some raid time, I guess. Witch Queen expansion.
I hear the Witch Queen is the best Destiny's ever been, so...
Yes, I've heard that as well on a few bits of content I've listened to this week. Of course, if anyone's not familiar with the Witch Queen expansion, over 1 million pre-orders. It's got a definitive new campaign. It's got new destinations, weapon crafting, legendary, various difficulties, free story introduction, and more importantly, you automatically level up to start with, so you don't have to play catch-up. You can jump in and get straight either back to it if you're a lapsed Destiny 2 fan, or you can jump in right now. I'm still not sure how much the story's going to land. I personally
don't like the auto level up stuff. I'd rather play through the actual game to get to the end content rather than just going straight to the end. But
you don't have time. You don't have time for this anyway, Richie. So don't worry about it. And that is, of course, part of the Season of the Risen, which is going to be Bungie's newly supported content as that rolls out. So very excited to see how Destiny 2's success continues. Wonder if we'll ever see a Stadia Destiny related thing coming across. However, that has been it for episode number 127 of the Sounds of Stadia podcast, brought to you by Helix Cloud Games. It's been a good show, Richie. I've enjoyed this week. It's nice to be talking about games. We recorded last week on a Friday, so it feels like an actual long time since we sat down.
Yeah, it does.
and recorded. We've got another early episode recording this coming week because we're actually off, hopefully, to celebrate one Techie Teachers Stag Do next week. So we're recording ahead of time because I don't want to be hungover when I record episode 128. For anyone out there, feel free to tag and send at Adaxis LP his best wishes as he goes off and enjoys his final night of freedom, as they say, where we'll all no doubt be absolutely shit-faced from shots and drinking games and revelry and merriment. But that's next week. And until then, my name's been Chris.
And I've been Richie.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell so you're kept in the loop with all the content we bring you here on Helix Cloud Games. Live streams, first looks, SideQuest, which our members get up to 6 days early unless I post it extra early. Richie, what are we talking about on this week's SideQuest?
We're going to do a bit more discussion about the Google Dev Summit and what we can expect from Stadia there. We've touched on it a bit in this episode, but
we can go deeper.
I think there's more we can look into. We're going to go deep.
We can go deeper.
So deep.
That's what Tom said. And with that, folks, remember, play whatever makes you the happiest. Have a good week. See you all soon. Goodbye.
Bye.